Waspinator's box art is amazing. I promise that's the first and only time I'm going to do that. Bugbot lied. Also, I know I don't normally do these in my reviews, but this one was one that I hadn't seen before. And so I felt like I should share. This cool X-Force costume, Black Arachnia. Dark Arachnia. Oh, I didn't mean to peel this all the way off. But still, Dark Arachnia. Okay, alright. Okay. I'm here for it, I think. I think I am. I don't know. At first glance, you're like, oh wow, look at that. That's Waspinator right there. Like, the head sculpt, your eye is just bam, immediately drawn to it. And having his actually like yellow decos on his shoulders and stuff, this is what he sort of looks like. Probably the most out of any of the Waspinators we've had so far. But then, once you get over that initial like, oh, that's a crisp head sculpt, and you start to kind of try and move him around a little bit, then it really hits you that these legs, these insect legs, are very, very intrusive. Like, you know, look at that. That looks great. If you saw this, you'd be like, oh wow, that's a really good Waspinator. Then you pull it back a little bit, and you start trying to move in places, and it just, they're in the way. I do also think it's strange that they decided to chuck 2 legs on the shin and 1 on the arms. Because you could have gotten away with being like, no, it's an original toy throwback. If you chuck the 2 on his arms, and that would have also freed up more space on the legs. It's not like you can even bend these all out of the way because of the way the sculpt limits the articulation there. So, I don't know. That's just a bit of a weird choice to me. I don't really get why you wouldn't at least take, I don't know, a couple of the legs and have them mount from this backpack instead, so that then they can tuck away or fold up behind his shoulders or whatever you want. Basically anywhere other than affecting his articulation and, you know, your kind of play enjoyment, the hand feel. Can't touch this. I do also think on this, those antennae are sculpted like, you know, very obtrusively. They stick out quite far. I don't feel like any of the other Waspinators made them come out quite this far from his chest. And I don't know what it is exactly, but there's something bizarrely unsettling about it. I don't like it. The eyes look great with a slight iridescence to them, gives them an actual, like, you know, macro photography wasp-like quality. It's not great color matching from like yellow to yellow to yellow to yellow, and it's not quite as like rich as I would like it to be. It's a little bit lemony. It reminds me of the plastic that the Worlds Collide Bumblebee was made out of. It's just missing something. Articulation, if you're willing to ignore the legs for a little bit, is actually pretty good. You get like a lot out of his arms. You get about a 90 out of that elbow. Probably not quite. Some little twisty wristy action. Ugh. This, I don't know. Am I doing something wrong? Someone tell me if I'm doing something wrong, but this just doesn't seem to want to stay super tabbed in on mine. But you do get a bit of a waist swivel, which is a pretty neat feature. Then universal thighs, nice deep bend out of the knees. Ugh. I know we've already talked about it, but that head, it looks great. I think it's the extra apps of black and yellow that really help set it apart. So there's not many head sculpts that you see of figures where they have, what's he got? 1, 2, 3, 4 different colored paint apps in some, you know, nice stripies, eh? They got in there, got those teeth. His mandibles sort of are a different color. It's a really, really visually interesting head sculpt, this one. It does a lot of the heavy lifting for this figure. Alright, so I think in isolation, in a vortex, in the vacuum of space, where no one can hear you buzz, this is a pretty good looking Waspinator. Where the pitfall is as soon as you start putting him next to some of your other figures. So let's first take a look at him with the rest of the updated base squad. So here he is, standing in the lineup of the kind of OG original Predacon mob squad. And he just It's not that he's bad. He's not a bad toy, but he just doesn't quite feel at home with some of the other figures. It's like his sculpting is quite detailed, but because he's that little bit smaller, the detail almost works against him to make him feel like he's from another line. I don't know, it's a little bit like you went and got your Marvel 3 3/4 figures and tried to put, you know, that Cyclops in your X-Men team of Marvel Legends figures. It's not a bad toy, but it's just not quite what I was looking for to fill out my modern Beast Wars lineup. And I think that's a pretty good segue into some other comparisons, because at the moment, I think I will still be using the Classics Waspinator to fill out my Predacons. This generation's Waspinator does suffer a little bit from that thing where a lot of those figures had slightly whack proportions. Like you could have done with downsizing this by a third, and it would have really just made it like the perfect Waspinator figure. But again, this was kind of going for more of how he was popping up in the comics, which was cool to see. Man, those comics used to be good. You get them up close, they do both have great head sculpts, but this one suffers from a lack of paint apps and the clear colored eyes. Same as, you know, those shoulder paint apps. They're such an iconic part of Waspinator's show model that they really did miss a beat on this one, not doing it. Not to mention, this guy is rocking a superior Sting gun, and you've also got a flippity flappity action feature. You need to believe, Peter! Alright, I need some space to clear my head from these two, so let's swap him out and get in a couple of other waspy bros, shall we? Oh man, look at this nightmare guy. This was a really fun storyline, and another example of why Animated was just such a good show. They did some really fun things with the lore. He's a little bit of a raggedy man, but he's old, alright? And he's made out of that soft, opaque plastic. And I really am just a die-hard Animated fan. Bring that back. Just do a Netflix special movie or something. I'd watch it. I'd watch it! Looks a little bit like he went and made himself a friend. Friends? And then lastly, how could we not go ahead and have a peep at him alongside the original Waspinator figure? Now, my copy is looking a little worse for wear. This is the Waspinator that my brother and I had when we were little kids, so he's lost his wings. He's lost that section that sort of kept his chest together and let you flip the mutant heads. We didn't have a lot of Beast Wars figures. In fact, I'm pretty sure we only had this Waspinator. That was a stage when our parents were like, what? Another Beast Wars? You've already got a Beast Wars. I mean, you know, it's not a deprived life by any stretch, but what are we talking about again? Man, that is undeniably a glow up, isn't it? Alright, let's go ahead and do that transformation thing, shall we? Get this out the way for now. Close up that head and pull this whole sheboygan forward. You'll see there's a little peg and tab. Give it the old clickety click. Then these arms just fold in to here. You're gonna make the hands pointing like so. Get this down. Give it the twist. And that's actually gonna tab in really securely down here. A good guide for how all this should collapse and sit together is actually the way that thorax, abdomen, whatever, is split. So if you have that in place, you'll know you've done that right. Get these feet ready to fold up. Now, there's little pegs here that have tiny little pegs there. It's all very soft, so you got to really press it in. Alright, those will meet in the middle like that. This is good, this is good. This is how a bug's head apparently works. Hold these legs back, make it all a bit easier for yourself. These come together on the foot. Hold it like that. You've got this clip here that's going to end up clipping onto the forearms up here. And then kind of just fold the feet up, I guess. That's your choice. Bring these bug legs down. And that's pretty well what you're working with. Then you can go and get this stinger weapon and put that back in to finish the look. And that's Waspinator. Wasping it up. Right? It looks like a novelty motorcycle before it's had its wheels put on. The whole shape of it. right? You could do him trans metal and give him motorbike mode. That'd be pretty cool, right? Is that not got like... Is that not a hidden motorbike mode? Could there not be an alternate transformation where his arms came out in front, somehow held onto these, something folded out of his shins to grip onto that, and then you've got yourself Green Hornet's motorcycle? Cool shape. Not super sold on like the actual sculpt of it, just this kind of, I don't know, mottled surface that he's got going. I guess you do get articulation out of the antenna, which is something everyone was gagging for. What's cool is I think this is the first time he's actually had working mandibles, so that's something fun. You can make him eat grubs, I don't know. And then he balances pretty well. Look, it does what it needs you to do. No one's displaying it in this mode. It's reasonably quick and easy to get him into, so you know, if you're playing with it, it's not too big a deal to have him flying around as a wasp and then transform him to have a play. It's not like it's Beast Megatron. Like crazy, that's as far as they go, and I can't seem to get him to actually stand on his feet without detaching that and having that wasp butt hit the ground. Is that just how it goes? Is that just it? And here we have a whole bunch of Waspinator all together, doing that Hy-Vee swarm dealio. They are just abuzz with anticipation. They all have their merits, don't they? Well... yeah, even these two, right? This was a cool animated-esque interpretation. It's fiddly, but it has that waspy shape that you want. There's no denying really what it is. It's a whack face, but you get it. I think that's part of the issue with the newest one, is that it's trying to go for that super organic thing that all their beast modes do, but then with all of this business, it still feels like a relatively, you know, cyber rendition of an organic form. At least with the Generation Z one, it lent into it on purpose with some, you know, cyber surface detailing and things like that to let you know that this was more like robotic. It was more of a robotic approximation of a wasp as opposed to trying to be an actual wasp. And so whilst this, I guess, is a little bit more cartoon accurate in its intentions, I still feel like the Generation one lands a little better because it's not trying to be organic. So it doesn't have to be organic. Whereas this is trying to be organic. So it probably should try a little harder. I'm just saying. Zzz. Oh, the bees! Not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! I think my issue with this Waspinator is the fact that the War for Cybertron, and particularly the Kingdom line in particular, has given us such definitive versions of characters that it's hard to imagine them ever topping them. Like, I can't imagine a better Black Arachnia or T-Rex Megatron. Like, even Dinobot with his skinny arms is awfully close to perfection. And so I think what this figure suffers from, like the Scorponok suffers from, although that suffers way more, like...
every moment I live is agony.
Sorry kid, the dog was rabid, I had to put it down. Right, I still feel like I'm flipping back and forth between these two. If this guy had a slightly smaller bug chest and the paint apps that the Kingdom one has, then this would definitely be my preferred Waspinator. You know what? I'm honestly finding that the more I play with him and the more I look at him on camera, the more I'm liking this Waspinator figure. When he was straight out of the box, I was pretty underwhelmed and unimpressed, but he is winning me over. The legs and the antenna are still stupid, but he is definitely winning me over. As it stands, the Kingdom one just has that extra edge when it comes to visual interest, and I'm a big fan.
Not the beast! Not the beast!